What's up? Weekly metal reviews, talking about the genre of grunge, everything about grunge. We're all just kind of sitting here all laid back like grunge. But now I'm mad!
Like grunge.
Yeah. Reggie and Keith from Because We Care, and Sam, who he's always
Tyler.
He likes green eggs and ham.
Yeah. So, grunge. What you guys feeling on grunge? Start with Reggie.
Okay, I like where it all started, and I love this style. What can I say? My favorite band originally started as a grunge band. I feel like many of the bands from the '90s had the same origins in grunge. They all took different directions. Like I feel like, for instance, STP went more of kind of like the nostalgic poppy like route eventually. You know, bands like Alice in Chains that kind of stuck to the their original principles. You know, and kept writing the same grim, menacing songs. Nirvana, well, he died. So yeah. Soundgarden, I don't like Chris Cornell. Whatever, I don't care. But I feel like it really summed up a lot of the emotions at the time period. It really was a good transition to from like the metal scene of the '80s, and it was a great break from a lot of things that already happened. And I really think that it's much better than the generation of crappy Blink-182 like bands that followed. So, nod your head, Keith. What did you think about that?
What I think, I like grunge. I mean, it's all right. Like I like quite a few grunge bands. Like I like STP, I like Alice in Chains. Collective Soul is another one of the bands that I really like. Like I like it. It's just that I feel like a lot of it, like a lot of the songwriting it's almost kind of predictable, and like where they're gonna go next with the song. Whereas usually with most songs, it's like the soft verse and then the heavy chorus, and just like, oh, okay, saw that one coming. But I mean, like bands like Alice in Chains did manage to stand out because I mean, I guess grunge in its purest sense was Nirvana, in which, like kind of like what Reggie said, all the bands kind of went off into their own little, like they were still grunge, but they kind of went off into their like slight tangents, while like Nirvana was, I guess, the truest, I guess, grunge band. And then you never really hear about any other bands because I mean, I guess grunge isn't that exciting as a genre. Like that's why there's only like 5 or 6 bands that everybody knows of. But I mean, it's alright. Somebody else.
Grunge is it's a pretty cool genre to me. And my favorite band, Alice in Chains, happens to be a grunge band. And some of the other bands, Pearl Jam, STP, I love the crap out of those bands. But I don't love everything about Pearl Jam. We can get there later. But I like these guys were saying. You think about thrash. Thrash started with a couple bands in the early '80s, and they were all thrash, and then they all kind of broke off and did kind of what they wanted to, and they all changed their sounds and went in different directions other than just thrash, and that's kind of how some of the grunge bands are. You have Pearl Jam or Stone Temple Pilots or Alice in Chains. They started grunge and then they just kind of like broke off and did what they wanted, and it's pretty cool. Like some of the grunge bands really offer some like variety and diversity in their music, and some of them are just downright have some amazing albums like 10 by Pearl Jam or Dirt. Grunge has a certain feel to it that some genres just can't really capture. Like the depressing, just, fuck it, everything, I'm just gonna sit on my couch, and just be depressing type of atmosphere, just dark. Like all the bands have a really dark atmosphere, and they just wrote some of the best albums and songs that just go down in history as like some amazing crap. But Grunge is cool.
How I feel about grunge? Alright, in the 1980s there was glam metal. Everyone knows what glam metal is. Hair metal, you know, dress up in a bunch of tight clothing, preferably leather, you know, like glam metal, hair metal, and, you know, what?
Power ballads.
Yeah, power ballads. And around, let's say, in the 80s, there's just people that kind of like, oh dude, I get so sick of all these just bands, man, like Motley Crue and Def Leppard. I get so sick of them, man. They're all like popular with all their chicks and all that. And so someone decided in their garage, of all places, probably to start grunge.
I feel like grunge is like a breakaway from mainstream, but you look at where it turned out.
Yeah.
Kind of ironic, actually.
Yeah. I guess grunge. I think grunge is just a term coined to the band Nirvana, and anyone around them that had similarities just sort of gotten thrown into the mix, and then grunge became grunge per se. I never really think it. Before, sometimes I thought it never really was like a genre. It's just a bunch of rock bands, I guess. You get your soft rock, like Pearl Jam. You got your really, I don't know what to call it, Nirvana. Just a rock band, I guess. It's really all just rock and roll. But around that time, that rock and roll had a certain sound, just like the rock and roll nowadays has a certain sound. The rock and roll back then really had its sound, I guess. You know, with the slow, I don't care attitude, and just all of that. But I guess grunge. It's really just personified by the band Nirvana in many ways. I haven't been a big fan of this band in a while. I used to love Nirvana, but I really have to admit this band really is the embodiment of grunge. I guess the whiny, pretentious, yet laid back, stoner, drunk, I don't care attitude that is grunge. I guess is all about Nirvana, and just the weird, you know, history of, or I guess backstory of it. It's just really, I think, Nirvana in many ways. But bands like Stone Temple Pilots, Soundgarden, people often say the Screaming Trees is like the first grunge band. I could maybe see it in ways. Alice in Chains, who am I forgetting here? Yeah, Mudhoney, just bands like that, I guess. Really, grunge is it's just something that happened out of nowhere. Just kind of not like you saw it coming, or it was really hyped up or anything. It just kind of happened out of nowhere. Grunge just kind of sprung up, and it was just a label thrown to some dirty, depressing music.
I know, like, a lot of people go on about how, like, grunge is dead, apparently, but then, like, there's, like, some of the bigger bands out there, like, you know, like Alice in Chains, like STP, we're still putting out albums, and then, like, there's, I guess, you know, post-grunge, which is, like, you know, I guess, like, Creed, and bands like that, so I guess it's not dead. But I mean, I don't know.
Smashing Pumpkins is still around.
Yeah, since, you know, they're playing right now, they're still around. Like a lot of the bands are still around. Like a lot of the big bands are still around. But a lot of people are like, oh, you know, grunge is dead. I'm like, yeah, there's no new. You're not going to see a new grunge band come out. But the ones that, you know, somehow have survived are still thriving.
same principles that still apply for a lot of things, and they really influenced a lot of the bands today. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, the same whole idea of don't be a corporate sellout, you know? Don't, which, you know, why Kurt Cobain killed himself, you know, obviously. Doesn't seem like that much of a pretentious idea, actually, when you think about it. Because grunge becomes so mainstream. You think of his death really kind of does symbolize the end of grunge in a lot of ways. But these bands all took things in a different direction, which is what was good, what they had to do. I didn't mention Pearl Jam earlier. Pearl Jam, I like how Pearl Jam took their thing, they took their band in it. They're a very popular band for the radio. They sound great live. You know, I think grunge is another genre that sounds amazing live. Like some of the bands that play just sound awesome. They're a lot of them made unplugged albums. You guys know Nirvana, STP had an unplugged album. It's hard to get a hold of. I don't really know where to find it anymore. Alice in Chains is a great unplugged album.
Pearl Jam did one too.
Did they?
Yeah.
See it? And all the ones I've listened to so far have sounded absolutely amazing.
Yeah, they're all great.
So, some of the same ideas today still are the same thing.
Bush.
Oh yeah, they got kind of thrown into the mix and were kind of lucky. I feel like some of the bands, there's a lot of bands that didn't quite make the cut. I think there was just the big bands of grunge, and then there's the nobodies that no one's ever heard of, and probably never will hear of. So I think grunge was just kind of a, like I said, a spur of the moment kind of thing, where from like 1990 to 96. I'll throw it to 97. No, 96, just because that's when Alice in Chains Unplugged came out. But just from the first half of the 90s, and then in 96, it's just like grunge blew up, and like, oh, there's grunge. Like grunge is awesome. I'm gonna listen to a couple of these bands, and I'm sure there were so many other grunge bands out there. It's just they never made the cut. Maybe it's just because there's not much you can do with grunge. I mean, yeah, every big grunge band had their own individual sound, but like, you can't really. What else could you do with grunge? I mean, every big band already had their own sound. You know, it's not like there was really much else you could really do. Especially if you're a lazy dude that sits around in your garage and wears flannels all day and smokes weed. You know, it's just like, I don't know, can't really take this anywhere, so I'm pretty sure, I'm just going to throw it out there, I'm guessing that every other small grunge band was just a Nirvana wannabe or an Alice in Chains wannabe, that it just weren't even close to being that good.
There's a couple bands that just had like one pretty good album that came out later, like Mad Season, or I know that's like a side project of Wayne's Daily, and a couple of dudes from Pearl Jam, but you know, their album is great, and I don't know about you guys, but I like Silver Chairs. What's it called? Like Frog Stomp, I think it's called. I like that album. It came out in '95, I think. You know, it's got a very Nirvana-ish sound to it. Nirvana mixed with Alice in Chains, especially the song Suicidal Dream.
And you got like the supergroup Temple of the Dog.
Yeah, it was just
So you don't have those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed like, and I think I read somewhere that they did a statistic of this, like grunge was kind of like one of like the biggest things in music for like most one-hit wonder bands, where like you get a band that has like one really, really good song. Like I mentioned them earlier, Collective Soul. The song Shine. I love that song to death, but it's like one very, you know, it's like their only big hit, and it's like really the only song that
They
a lot of
have
people like.
had many other hits though.
But that was
It's
their
just
first.
that one was really big, and their only extremely big hit. The songs like December, or Gel, or Heavy by Collective Soul, those are some damn good songs. That's a good band. It's a good band that more grunge people should know.
Yeah.
Reggie.
Boy, no problem.
You know, that's a pretty damn good. I've been listening to them a lot, but what I've heard from them, I really dig, and should probably check them out more.
So what do you guys think of like grunge? What do you think is the album that really epitomizes it? Could you sum it down to one album really?
Dirt.
Dirt. I was just gonna say that. Dirt. I feel like Dirt says a lot about grunge. Just down in a hole, thin bones. You know, the whole album just.
Choke.
Yeah. Does that one have Rooster on it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got
It's just
Rooster.
that album is so dark and so depressing. It just that kind of really just sums up what grunge is all about.
Captures the whole
Yeah.
real spirit of it.
I have to say it, but I have to say Nevermind. I mean, I don't like that
Yeah.
band very much, and I come back and listen to them every now and then, just because Nirvana was, you know, my band for a while. I guess I like them a lot. What? Yeah. But that album is. I know everyone always says this, but I guess people say it because it's true. I don't want to be one of those know-it-all Nirvana fans that I know everything about Kurt Cobain. I know what happened to him from like age 1 until he died. You know, I don't know anything about Chris or Dave or anything, but I just know everything about Kurt. I mean, there's 3 dudes in that band, not just one. But you know, as much as I love Alice in Chains, as much as I love Stone Temple Pilots, as much as I really, really, really love Pearl Jam and Stone Gossard, I just have to say that Nevermind is the grunge album. Not just because everyone thinks it, just because it's like the grunge album, I guess. Without a doubt, the biggest grunge album. Without a doubt, Nirvana's biggest album. Without a doubt, maybe one of the biggest albums of the 90s. Definitely in the rock and roll world, maybe the biggest album of the 90s. One of the biggest albums of all time. I just have to say that's grunge. Simplicity, dirty sound, not caring, getting high. That's Nevermind. And just lyrics that don't make one goddamn bit of sense.
It may be overplayed and beat to death, but there's no denying the influence it had, though.
Yeah.
On everything.
Yeah.
Say that.
I don't like Nirvana anymore at all, in any way, shape, or form. But I won't deny that they really had an impact on music.
Alright.
Their impact was huge.
Yeah, I guess if I had to pick the album that personifies it, I'd either said I'd probably have to agree with Tyler, Reggie, and go with Dirt. Just, I mean, yeah, Nevermind was probably the album that, like, the more, which is the part that everybody knows, the more mainstream aspect of grunge.
Yeah.
That's what put grunge on the map. But I think Dirt, like, was much grittier and kind of just overall fit the overall themes of grunge better.
Dirt still has a very dirty sound to it, too. The whole guitar just sounds... Yeah, you can't top that out.
Dirt definitely had a better, how do I say it? Jerry Cantrell wrote songs. I can say that. Jerry Cantrell wrote some damn good songs. Kurt Cobain wrote some songs, I'll say. Like, I don't know, I feel like the reason I think Nevermind really portrays grunge, Jerry Cantrell, I'm not saying Dirt's not grunge at all, and Alice in Chains is a grunge, but I feel like Jerry Cantrell really, like, was a great musician. He was an amazing musician. Stone Gossard from Pearl Jam is an amazing, amazing musician. Has some of the best fucking solos ever. But the grunge aspect of Nevermind really, and Nirvana, just has to do with Kurt's poor musicianship, I think. Like, yeah, he wrote, what's that one song? Teen Spirit, whatever that is. I mean, that's like, that's known as like the grunge song. That's like the song of the 90s, but, you know, that's just, he was a crappy musician. Really crappy. I mean, in my opinion, very overrated. Yeah.
Mediocre.
But, that's grunge, I guess. Just not giving a damn and all that. But, Some other grunge bands that are cool.
Soundgarden's not bad.
Soundgarden. Chris Cornell. Very, very
Good
strong voice.
Yeah. I never really could fully get into this band, but some of their like hits I think are pretty good. Black Hole Sun, of course. You know, that song's their most popular. That song's pretty damn awesome.
Just for the music video. That's all I'd say about that.
Outshine.
Every
It's a good damn song.
every grunge band did have their one really big hit though. Like Alice in Chains with Rooster, Nirvana with Teen Spirit, or whatever it is. Pearl Jam, like
I would probably say Alice in Chains is the biggest hit. Is probably
Yeah, so that's what I was
Yeah.
gonna say.
STP with Flush.
yeah, Pearl Jam with Jeremy, maybe.
yeah, James.
Yeah, it's a pretty big one. Soundgarden with Black Hole Sun. Collective Soul with
Sean.
Shine, yeah.
Silverchair with Tomorrow. Everybody knows that song. At least when you hear it, you know. I know I was that one.
Yeah, I mean, like that's kind of what I was saying. Is I feel like that's almost what embodies grunge. Is everybody's like, oh yeah, that song. I like that band, but like that's the only song. I
Yeah,
know.
one album by that band is pretty cool.
Yeah, that one album. That that one song.
Yeah.
It's like
It's that one crunchy guitar riff you just hear in that
Yeah,
one
exactly.
song.
Yeah,
It's
it's
like,
like
ah.
Core, Purple,
It's like-
Nevermind, Dirt, 10. I don't know anything else, but yeah,
Super Unknown.
yeah.
That album by Temple Dog, you know, the only one they had.
Yeah, yeah, literally.
that's all I got.
Any other thoughts?
That's all I got.
Concerns, questions.
Quick, what's your favorite grunge band?
STP, clearly.
Alice in Chains.
Alice in Chains.
Alice in Chains.
There we go, 3-1. Alice in Chains, best grunge band ever. This is Weekly Metal Reviews. Check out Because We Care as well.
Yes, please. Thank you.
We're signing
Please,
off.
thank you. Sexist.
Until next
Good.
time. Boom.
Boom.